We started this mission in the year 2012, towards the end of the year, and since then we have been implementing about 8 annual action plans thus far. When we first started the mission, it was a very challenging ground for us to start encouraging the women to even come together or to even start saving a few hundreds. We had a strong professional team to lead the mission, and we have been engaged with them effectively, and we are at the moment having about 12,000 plus self-help groups in Nagaland. We have about 1,000 plus village level organizations, and we have about 36 cluster level federations as of today. So once we had these strong institutions of poor at the villages, we thought of bringing them together and organizing them into a more formal type of an organization registered under cooperatives. And we wanted to also see that they are able to sustain on their own, make it sustainable, make them strong, and enable them to function effectively. We thought that we will first concentrate on few models. We have 74 blocks in the state, but we thought that we will take at least about 3 model blocks. So we went ahead with Jakama block, Woka block, and Longleng block. So in these 3 areas, in these 3 blocks, we thought that we will promote models by engaging a very strong team of professionals from Sesta.
So it was in 2018 when the Nagaland State Rural Livelihood Mission invited Sesta to help them in their efforts at mobilizing the first set of cluster level federations in the state. And Sesta then brought in Brainstem as the technical partner in this initiative. On one hand, Sesta had a very strong ground presence working with communities in the Northeast, and Brainstem had immense experience in designing of modules, designing of a nurturing process for such institutions. The whole process of forming and nurturing these cluster level federations actually begins with visioning at the village level. We do a training of trainers for leaders from the village, who in turn, once they have been trained, they go ahead and conduct visioning events at their own respective village level organizations. The whole idea is to give them space so that they can define what kind of change they want to see in the lives of their members, their families, and in their villages. So once this vision is seen, and generally the scenario which comes out is a very multidimensional one. So people talk about health, they talk about education, they talk about livelihoods, and they also talk about rights and entitlements.
Happy women, happy family, happy village. Monem hatsada monem gunem hatsa mogasu gaza chasa gune ugu unnada gaza mogu uga uga nagu unnada unnane hada gatu shusa the jo shusa sene sine shusa lagu unna mo ulamene sine hatsa uzu wemu shusa ha upana ga yip tobu gaza shusa se gaza he
training kido jira she topulo honzo ose etongzo jijo vision statement and sing da je hoji jon do zona la dona 或者是一类种一家呢，体积还多或者是一类那个多，一类种啊，古多瓦姆森啊，或者是一类呢，一类种em个lâm trang ji，中一点啊，古地里哦不，或者就那山丘森啊，或者还多或者是一类呢，我样就是你就一天来里 SHG member 种那，你就抽里就是那或者还多或者是，或者这个那 vision statement 就是一类么多一天来里做就或者多啊那，应该听到了是。一点啊 federation 去还是有时这个那叫 vision statement 的，或者那一天种多付，或者那一错就这个那 vision statement 是叫多付这个那，那么多一天来付做个做或者你知不知道
Once these village level meetings are done with, the vision is then consolidated in another cluster level meeting, wherein they consolidate and then they prioritize. Once that is done and the visioning part is completed, the CLF leaders then get on to the business of setting targets, setting goals for themselves in more concrete terms in each of these dimensions. So for example, in livelihoods, they decide collectively as to what is the kind of incomes they would want to raise in the next 5 years. So in health, they take a look at the indicators which are there at their state and at their village and their block level and see and decide what kind of changes they would want to achieve in the next 5 years. Once this
training Kamla Mutsuchi story Jondena, Hujilona, Raizo, Kama Hujilona in Atioji, Kamla Jina, Boba Kamjin Cheva Moji, Ovangi Choji, Hoji story Jilona, and Ilmotom Hanaing Atecho. Hojizgona, Oyanjilo, Esofi Tsekito, Oyanjang, Kutili Tsayanza to the Chaitaula. Federation Federation Jilo Chingi. 我这个做菜是做的话，我就Federation England Range 中长期固定的吃这样子是特地去，一到了都全部去或者俺太还是一说，都用这说说。
Once this is done, they then get down to the whole process of planning out. So if it is health, what kind of steps do they need to take in their villages, and then at the cluster level, what kind of stakeholders they need to engage with, and what is the role of the stakeholders, what is the role of each of these forums that they have, what is the role of the CLF, what is the role of the VLOs, what is the role of the SHG, and finally what is the role of the member. So all these nitty-gritties are taken care of in the first 3-4 months, where these series of about 4-5 trainings are organized for these leaders.
Pane guzu gaza ubi buwa hatune wane hobeke sene tame legwe guzu gaza bucha mushi telo zagabu ubi bu nukene mabu chumho ga mogasu mogu ubi bu nti pane sene mabu ukho de mogasu shite kobu guzu shulane shite kobu meimu zagabu sa sene makate mahuilane makuta che mogasu zagabu nulene不得嘛的话，这个吃个那什么个时候，这是这日子就这个吃说个这就是个这啥到老了，我呢如果路到你知道这会旁边这个问题的这就是什么，除了那个个大妈不吃的这个胡说掉了，么个马子呢，地不下的这啥个。Makata di suku suku, ukwe udi hoa chemenu shoma ko suku zi, ukwe udi chemenu modazilane katika la shoma zi parawa, mu chemenu hizilane haka gada tang shazi guru, tsaka me zi iga zi, zina zi agu tsu shoga zi shu shi tsu ho.
Ela ni kito leadership training chiro shi inga teo chijo, kutili kito oko esopui inshuwa jina, okoji kutili soga benga sana. Elani kito yung jangji kutada opfuotodwa zeyada soka bengal sana hojang ha elamoto na engatecho elani esopum homjijo theory ekam oso humjan rajan eli esopi choshiko esopi jina okoji ethelai le jang ha top nzi shiko esopi jina ovangna metakweshiko 오스 오코지 에텔레리 장도프 운동도죠 오코지로시 에테블리 쳐서라 호장지 에소비잖아 엘모도 홍장을 잔랴 마당마슬랴 초시고 호지도거나 또풀러 총조지죠 Awang najon zaman chko dili do ha leadership training kichos lo jo. SOP kutili chou sana oji inga theo ji kona oji elamodo training ji kichos la elamodo inga theta ele jang ji chwa yi cho. Osi ede yingsang shiloshi federation shiloshi ndo ele chou li sana ho jang ha oji lo shina elamodo hungjan lu jan API ele jang ji chodo kala.
And then we go on with the leaders, training them in setting systems, in designing, what kind of administrative systems is required, what kind of HR systems are required, what kind of business management systems are required, so that both the effectiveness and the efficiency, both of them are upheld by the organization.
That is one of the reasons why the experience of NSRLM team along with the Sesta team came together and started designing the strategy, and also in terms of the kind of inputs that were supposed to be given over a period of 3 years. So as of now, I'm happy to see that our community institutions have graduated from where we were before the engagement and before the plan was rolled out.
training group के तो सुसे सीधे मो दिवा training का लावला दात सा कच्चे माको हाथो सेने चमो को सुसे पुकी सुको सुगे कपड़ा का खासा का तो सुसे सीधे सागतला सुका हाउ ते पने हाथो ला पाई वेरे सुगे तो उलो सुसे लिया हो
ena federation na yelo jijo nonghor elero ezaojang hojangji ochuwange mhongada nzandang jangyan ko zgona so chuwange nzan ochuwange walena je mhongada wana wo ko zgona hojang ha yilala elani keto oyane dispensary shangha mhongada ko zgona elani sko gi shangha mhongada ko zgona to shangha ena elme yilala ena england yingsing federation shi so yingo jijo england yingsing shi no shi ilwe jangji elamodo okapi wanda eva mo kitokona wana nanje elamodo okapi wanda eva mo kitokona yingsing shi lo federation tachungye SHG member jang chakaro dia onde wana nanjiro shi utsorang enopia likito onde wana nanji chakaro dia khokata utokona mekana sakata utokona etamezo jo hoji os england yingsing 시도시 보다다 일해 처벌이 있었나 어정지 초다 우거나 시시 수행죠. 지역차 페더레이션 시작차 론비아 엘모도 인산치다. 어서 언제 그 만나는 난주로시 인산치 해소달라.
We have had good experiences actually with the community at the villages. We had very strong community institutions, village level organizations who were actively engaged in the COVID response. So it was a good time for these village level organizations to also be recognized as a partner in tiding over the challenges posed by COVID, more in terms of the supply of agri-produce, in terms of online connectivity to market, in terms of women actively participating in providing appropriate information at every household, because our SAG members were in every household, in terms of discussing about COVID issues and do's and don'ts in their SAG meetings. So this has actually woken up, the whole of Nagaland, I should say, because all our women were actively engaged during this COVID response. So this was a good experience for us to see how an organized group of women who are trained, capacitated, can come together and effectively contribute towards the overall development of the state. We're expecting that in the next 2 years, we will have at least 9 very strong models federation run by SAG women. In the next 2 years, after developing these 9 models, we want to have at least 74 model federations across 74 blocks in 11 districts of Nagaland. We want the women to start effectively contributing towards the overall development and self-sustainability of the village.